Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode or live stream, I should say, of Over the Top Talk. Me and Anthony want to start doing this kind of thing where we go live. We're live right now on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and even TikTok over my phone.
Yep.
We haven't talked WWE in a little bit. I think since we made our Clash in Paris predictions, which was weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just before we start, I always like to start with telling you guys to please subscribe to us on YouTube. I think we're at 98 subs. We're trying to reach 100. Make sure you follow us on Over the Top Talk Instagram. That's where we're probably most active. We've been posting almost every single day. You'll always see a story of us over there on Instagram. Also, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, pretty much everywhere you can find, Over the Top Talk podcast. But, with no further ado, we got WrestlePalooza, and I think 2 weeks from Saturday, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, 10 days, bro. 10 days from now.
10 days, and we have, some of the matches made. We're probably going to get a couple more, and actually it's the first ESPN version of WWE, so I'm assuming they're gonna have something huge planned. We'll talk about a lot of the different topics tonight. Obviously AJ Lee returning, that was a huge one last Friday, I should say. We're gonna be talking Cena, obviously. The Usos, combining again. We're here for it all. So make sure if you guys are watching, you guys can leave comments. For the people on TikTok, we're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Over the Top Talk. It should be in my TikTok bio. But with no further ado, and also if you want to talk to us, my chat set up or the comments on YouTube and Instagram. So we'll see pretty much everything. But with no further ado, I kind of want to start with the first topic, which we saw this past Monday, which was, we're finally seeing this Jey Uso character that I, like, which is Crash Out Jey Uso. And, every time, Jey crashes out, I feel like it's justified. This past Monday, he's already having issues with LA Knight. He said it last week, how, they almost had their one-on-one match. Didn't end up happening, obviously, because the Vision came out. But obviously, there's that issue between Jey and LA Knight, which we saw it in full force. Because I just want to ask you, how did you feel about I think Jey hit. I think that was one of his top spares.
Oh yeah.
That, he's ever hit on anyone that he did to LA Knight to end or close out last Monday's show.
Yeah, I do really like this. It's kind of given me shades of that OG bloodline Jey, when he was kind of the right hand man to Roman. But I feel like now that Jey has kind of like hit this superstardom, he's won the IC title, the World Heavyweight Championship now. He's got the whole Yeet movement, that whole thing. He's selling merch like crazy. He's a main eventer now. So I think this could probably hit a lot more. You could see Jimmy kind of not agreeing with him there. He was kind of questioning why he speared LA Knight. So I don't know, maybe we'll end up seeing some bickering between Jimmy and Jey going on Raw. Obviously, we're gonna get an LA Knight versus Jey match now, 1-on-1. Maybe they'll make that official down the line because they're already taken at WrestlePalooza. Maybe we could see an LA Knight interference, but going back to the topic about Jey, I'm a big fan of it because I feel like this could kind of give him maybe more depth to his character. A lot of people were criticizing how he's getting boring. They're criticizing how he only has 3 moves and says yeet. But now if he's kind of has this crash out aspect to him, maybe that can make his character more deep, more interesting. And I don't know, maybe down the line this could lead to a Jimmy versus Jay part two. Because as we all know, their match at Mania 40, uh, that kind of fell flat a little bit. So hopefully, hopefully we get something good out of it. I'm confident that we will though, because Jay is Jay, and at this point, it seems like when people have doubts, it always ends. It always ends in a good way. So I'm confident that it's going to end in a good way.
Yeah, and Jay was obviously kind of has this yeet, punchline, I guess you can say, where people kind of took him as a joke, back in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he proved a lot since then. I mean, over the past year, I mean, I could say he won Intercontinental Gold, he won the world title. I mean, people are taking him more seriously now, but adding in this new kind of not new version, but kind of bringing back this side of Jay, I really like.
Yeah.
Just because I think this character fits him well. I mean, even though it's we saw the segment with Jimmy where they kind of had that small disagreement, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's more about Jay not liking LA Knight. But we'll see what kind of happens next week on Raw. I'd assume LA Knight's gonna get back, but then again, they have that vision, which I guess kind of leads into the next topic, which is kind of wanted to talk about the vision for a second. Let me just get it across the bottom there. And the reason I kind of want to talk about the vision is because I feel like they're kind of, I don't know, I feel like they're I feel like this vision hasn't really been that great so far. I mean, obviously you have Seth and Becky Lynch now. That feud we'll talk about a little later. You have Seth, you have Braun Breaker, you have Bronson Reed. Obviously, them two taking out Roman back at Clash in Paris, that kind of hyped them up a little bit. But I mean, me personally, this Vision group, I haven't really been like, oh shoot, this is like a top faction. I haven't really felt that with this group. And obviously, we have the Bronze taking on the Usos at WrestlePalooza, and I don't know if if the Usos end up winning that, which I would assume they will, unless another member is added somehow. If they have the Vision lose at another PLE, I mean, people are just going to start, kind of tuning out when it comes to this group. And I feel like they're going to put more. I feel like the issue is the Vision focus now is Seth Rollins and not really with the Bronze, which when you have a guy like Braun Breaker, I feel like you should, make the story or script writing a little bit better. But do you feel like this Vision group's been underwhelming so far?
Oh yeah, I really do. I don't know if you remember, just last year, Braun Breaker was competing for championships. He had the great feud with Sami Zayn, he had the great feud with Jey Uso, and all that. And the same can be said for Bronson Reed. He was having one of the most generational pushes, in my opinion. He got pushed so hard. He was in the main event scene. He was competing like crazy. He took out Seth Rollins. Like that's how he got into the Vision, because he got Rollins' respect. He was in that War Games match until like he broke his ankle when he fell off the top, when he like jumped off the top. But in my opinion, this Vision group is kind of holding him back, both of them back, both of the Bronze. I feel like they're both better as single stars. Braun Breaker, he is, in my opinion, the next big thing. He's going to be your man for the next 15 years in the company, your top guy moving forward. So, I mean, like, the same thing kind of happened with Randy Orton back in his day. He was in Evolution. So, him being in a faction right now, I don't really see it dampering his career. Eventually, we all know the Vision is going to implode and they're going to go their separate ways. But as of right now, I feel like it is kind of falling dry a little bit. And like you said, I agree. If they lose at WrestlePalooza, like, what's the point? Like the Usos being together again. I feel like they're not going to lose their first match being together unless Jay's like crash outness like gets in the way of it, and LA Knight comes out and stuff. But other than that, I feel like you could really like this could really affect like the overall star power of the group, you know? Because like I said before, both men are amazing. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, two of the finest superstars that WWE has to offer right now. But like if they do fall flat here, this could kind of damper, how they are looked at. So hopefully whatever they do, it's good for both parties involved so they can both come out looking good.
Yeah, and I just want to say quick to anybody on TikTok here. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. We're just talking WWE topics that we've come up with. Just main, we just like to talk WWE. So we got a bunch of topics lined up for tonight. So hopefully you guys join us over there, or you can watch me just on this screen. But um, kind of following that segment. Well, I mean, I guess I should keep it up. I don't really like skipping too far ahead, but I mean, we have not SummerSlam, Survivor Series lurking in about, little bit over 2 months. And I ultimately think at that Survivor Series, they want this Vision group versus, um, the Usos. They obviously want Roman in there. Probably Punk as well. I don't know if you throw AJ Lee into that match or not, or same you can say for the other side, Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
When it comes to Survivor Series, do you think we're gonna see like a do you think they're gonna add another member to both sides? I guess you could add maybe Sami Zayn to the
Yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if there was, who do you think they're going to add if they choose to? Which I'm assuming they're going to choose to add a fifth member to both teams. Who do
Yeah.
you think those, extra members could be for each team, whether it's the Vision or I guess you can say the other team?
Yeah. Well, we know it's gonna be Jimmy J, CM Punk. I think the other two members are gonna be Roman and Sammy on that one side. Jimmy J, Roman, Sammy Punk, and then on the other side you're gonna have Rollins, Reed, Breaker. Um, I honestly don't know who the other two you could add are. Um, there's a lot of choices here. There could be NXT call-ups, meaning that like some of the stars down there are really good ones to add. I don't know if they would like call up anybody, but some of my predictions were like Ethan Page. If you were to call him up, that could be a good one. I don't really see like Trick Williams getting involved realistically. But like hear me out here. This is kind of a like a shot in the wind, but what if the Miz and Carmelo Hayes break up, and you could really have Carmelo Hayes being in there? I think he would be a really good fit. He's kind of fits that character of the Vision. He's kind of like a new NXT call up who hasn't got his like stardom yet. He was alongside Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker on the call up, so that could be really good. And for the fifth man, I really don't know. Um, it's hard to say here. Maybe like a return could happen from somewhere. Um, I don't know. Like, who would you think is the fifth one? Because this is actually hard for me. I really don't know who it could be.
I mean, like I said, if they want to, I mean, if they choose to go the route of putting, the woman into the match, I really don't think they're going to do that. But if they wanted to,
Hmm.
They could throw Becky Lynch in there. They could throw AJ Lee in there. I just don't think they're going to do that.
I
I think when it comes to the
personally,
vision, I mean,
yeah, I think they're going to have a separate match. I think there's going to be the men's side is going to be that vision. I think they're going to have Team Becky versus Team AJ in War Games, where it's going to be Becky Lynch and all the heels versus Team AJ, and like AJ could go gather like Rhea, Stephanie Vaquer, Nikki Bella, and Io Sky, and Becky can it could be like Becky Lynch, Asuka, Kyrie Sane, like and whoever other heels that she grabs. So I think that could be really good for it, in my opinion. Do you think that sounds pretty good?
yeah, I could see them going that route because they, obviously like to do the, woman one separate. I would like to see a Team AJ, Team Becky Lynch, because
Yeah,
there's a lot of, firepower that you could throw into a, match like that.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know if you saw NXT, if you saw NXT last night, but they showed there was a scene that like they had a 3v3 there. So I don't know if they call up other women to join that team. Because like now JCJ and all of them, they have issues with Rhea, Tiffany Stratton, and Stephanie Vaquer. So if Becky Lynch can go down to NXT and recruit people to come up and help her with that could be a really cool way to do it too. Because like Team AJ would be stacked because she would have all the baby faces there. So Becky Lynch's team would be outnumbered severely.
yeah, and my only issue with when they pull people up from NXT, multiple, when it comes to the females specifically,
Hmm.
is I feel like they pull them up and then they, you know, I guess I shouldn't say that because Stephanie Valkyrie is fighting for a title, but I feel like with some of the call ups, they kind of just waste their potential and they could just be using them over on NXT.
Hmm.
But I really don't mind the idea if they brought, the NXT woman for the Survivor Series, like some of them that
Yeah.
you just mentioned. But um, yeah, when it comes to, Survivor Series, obviously, kind of going back to the fifth members.
Hmm.
Honestly, I've been saying this for a while now. I'm, shocked they haven't, I'm shocked this hasn't happened yet. But I mean, I'd like to see Drew McIntyre as a fifth member because I think it would make sense for a Vision group like this, just
Yeah.
because yeah, he always has hatred.
Hmm.
And then I don't know what you would do with Cody. Cody obviously hasn't
Yeah.
been there in a while. I don't really know when we'll see Cody. Probably soon, I would assume, because they obviously
Yeah.
got that Cody and Drew feud that they want to do. But
I
yeah, like
saw
I said, yeah, you can go.
yeah, I saw that Cody is confirmed for WrestlePalooza and that they're gonna run him versus McIntyre. So I do like that idea that like they would have them crossing paths again at Survivor Series, and I think McIntyre would be a really good fit for that. But if you remember the last one, I think this was actually 2 years ago. Um, if you remember when they did that Survivor Series War Games match, they had the team of babyfaces versus the Judgment Day, and McIntyre joined that group just to get at Jey Uso. So if McIntyre's hatred for Cody is so big, he could just join the Vision as the fifth member to get at Cody again. So I think that's a good way they could go with it. That could be really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they added Cody to the other side.
Hmm.
Obviously now with Cody being a champion, obviously with him filming this new Street Fighter movie, we haven't seen him a lot.
Hmm.
Which I hate to say, I hate seeing champions that are kind of part time. Which I guess you can't call Cody Rhodes part time, but people will start saying that because if he takes time off to do movies when he's a champion, um, I don't think he'll take as much time off now. I don't know if he's finished filming or not, but I obviously got my issues with part-time champions. I don't think Cody's going to go down that road, but
Yeah, I
to
don't think
start off this title run, that's kind of been what we've been fed.
so.
Um, but kind of talking, moving on to, I guess, the man that I think only has, if I'm not wrong, 6 dates left. Five, yeah, I think it's 6 dates,
Hmm.
including WrestlePalooza, so it'll be five after that. But my main, obviously, we saw. I think he tweeted something earlier that he's going to be. He tweeted a little message to TDR and all the Boston fans. Obviously, he'll be in Springfield this upcoming
Hmm.
Monday, which that merch in Dice looked pretty sick. I know John Cena attended Springfield College, so I kind of like how they did his merch. They took the Springfield logo and put
Hmm.
his inside of it. I kind of liked how they did that, but when it comes to Cena in these last, well, I guess before we get into that, how do you feel about them kind of, I mean, not a lot of people are shocked, but looking at these prices for, these final couple shows, mainly, the TD Garden is probably the most expensive
Yeah.
show because obviously he's from Mass. There's going to be a lot of people in that Boston arena.
Hmm.
Supposed to be, it was supposed to be the location of his last, match, but they pulled that. So
Right.
November 10th, for anyone that doesn't know, he'll be in TD Garden, Boston. Tickets are, obviously expensive. That's kind of what I want to talk about. How do you feel about them kind of pushing his ticket prices up, to his home crowd in Boston?
Hmm.
Yeah, how do you
You
feel
know,
about them kind of, increasing ticket prices for his last couple shows here in Boston? I haven't looked at the Springfield prices, but they're probably reasonably the same amount.
yeah. Well, first off, I'm not surprised at all that the prices are extremely high. Obviously, they're gonna boost these prices up like crazy. John Cena's, like you said, 6 dates left, and he's gonna be in his basically, yeah, near his hometown twice. And us, being from the Boston area, it would be really cool if we could attend that. But with these prices, I don't think I will be going to the shows. Um, and I do think it's kind of disappointing, um, because like we want to be able to celebrate Cena's last times here. He's always been a hometown hero for us. He's always been someone we enjoy seeing. I've actually been lucky enough to see him at the Garden before, back in like 2016. But it would have been nice to be able to see him again. But I don't know. I feel like now they're kind of gearing it towards the rich, which is kind of funny. A lot of the content creators are probably going to want to go, all that, and a lot of the super fans are going to want to go, um, because of the last time seeing him in his hometown. His parents are probably going to be there. It's going to be a great atmosphere. But I will definitely be watching it live on TV. Um, but I would have really liked to go. I really would have liked to see it happen. Um, so let's see what happens here. Hopefully, the one thing that I do hope, though, and I do have one wish. I don't think anybody from WWE will see this, but I hope that his last times in Mass are really good. Like, I hope he has either a great match or great segments or whatever. I just hope it's not wasted time. I hope it's actually gearing towards something good. That's all I hope for. I just hope that it's something amazing to send him off good.
Yeah, and before we kind of start talking about Cena a little bit more, obviously I've mentioned to everyone on TikTok, we're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Over the Top Talk, it'll be in my link up above, in my profile, so you guys can watch on there. To the people on YouTube, you can talk to us if you want. Post a comment, and we'll come right up if you want to join our little topic discussion we got rolling. But to get into my next, Cena thing. I
Hmm.
mean, he obviously has six, remaining scheduled appearances
Hmm.
Like you said, we, hope that his last two appearances in Massachusetts are pretty good, and it's not just because they had that SmackDown show a couple weeks ago where people paid not as much money, but they paid to see Cena at that SmackDown show, and he was not there, which I don't really understand. Um, he was on the SmackDown show at the time. Obviously, now he's not only be on Raws and PLEs throughout, but
Hmm.
um, he obviously has this Monday, and then in November 10th, which is 2 months from now, he'll be back in Boston, which that crowd's going to be electric as always. Hopefully, we see a promo. When he's back at the Garden, I'd like to see a nice promo, maybe
Hmm.
little promo segment. I will not, like you said, I will not be at any of these last shows. I was thinking about going to maybe MSG. I'm probably not doing that. And obviously, when he comes to Boston, I will be in Florida at that time, so I'll probably be watching clips. But I hope he gets like a nice promo that they can show on TV.
Hmm.
I'm assuming they'll be starting the Survivor Series hype up, so maybe
Oh
he'll
yeah,
announce that he's on someone's team, which he's actually another one that would easily add to face division. But
definitely,
because I
yeah.
think you can also use Survivor Series to kind of set up his last opponent, which I've been
Hmm.
saying from the beginning. Um, which I guess leads into my next little thing here. He has 6 scheduled dates. Obviously, Brock Lesnar we know is one of the final opponents that will be at WrestlePalooza in 2 weeks. And then from there, it kind of there's a question mark. Nobody really knows who he's going to go against.
Hmm.
Whether it's AJ Styles, a lot of people said. I unfortunately don't think we're going to see that because after WrestlePalooza, he'll have, I think, only crazy enough 3 dates left because six or he'll have 5 after Monday and then 4. So yeah, he'll have 3 dates left after WrestlePalooza, which is scary to think about.
Yeah, it
But
really is.
because you're fitting, 3 appearances into about maybe 2 months, which I know he's pretty much retiring at like the right at the beginning of December or like middle of December, so it makes a little sense. But I think when it comes to opponents for Cena, I think you just have to use Survivor Series to set up his final opponent, which from the start, kind of when we started talking about last opponents, I saw a lot of theories, came up with one myself that I'll tell you, and I actually don't know how I didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about kind of extra people to the matches at Survivor Series, but I think what they should do is possibly have him go against or be on the opposing team to the Vision, and have that match go down because we know he's going to be at all the PLE, so he'll obviously be at Survivor Series. And I think you
Hmm.
have him. I think whoever he pins in the match, which I think it's going to be Braun Breaker, and then I think the smart decision is to probably run John Cena versus Braun Breaker for his final opponent. I
Hmm.
think that's a perfect setup for the two men. Obviously, Braun Breaker being the newer, younger guy, and Cena kind of leaving out the door. I think setting up John. I think it'd be the perfect. I think Survivor Series is the perfect setup to kind of do Cena versus Breaker. But I just want your thoughts on potentially seeing a Cena versus Breaker as his final opponent.
Well, yeah, I think that is really smart. As we were talking about earlier, um, I was saying how Braun Breaker is like the next big guy. He's going to be the next big thing. So that would kind of be like a passing of the torch moment. And I think in the final match, I do think um, I do think Braun Breaker would beat Cena to kind of have that, like I said, passing the torch moment. Um, And I think that would be a good way to start it off. But so it would be like Jimmy J, Cena, Roman, and Punk, which that's like a super team. That'd be insanely good. Um, so that the thing that kind of concerns me about that, and it's not a criticism or anything, but I really hope it like I feel like that would take away some of Cena's like momentum. Um, if it's just like a promo battle between Breaker and Cena for the last bit of time, all the way up until the 13th of December. As you know, with the whole thing that was going on, you have the Vision. They come out every week. Braun Breaker's barking at everybody. You have Bronson Reed there. Um, so I really don't know how they could make it really good between them. I hope Cena's final match is amazing, and I don't want it to be like a Saturday Night's Main Event esque match, if that makes sense. You know, like one of those like Goldberg's retirement match. It was slow, sloppy, and just not good. Like Cena is the greatest of all time, so giving him a send off like that, I feel like would just not be good. So he needs to have, like, in my opinion, an amazing match. He's gonna be honored to put over somebody. Like he would love to put over Braun Breaker and kind of have him go all the way up and become a world champion very soon. But I just feel like it could get messy quickly, and it could make the fans lose interest if it is not done correctly. So that's my only concern with it.
Yeah, me personally, whoever they choose, for Cena's last opponent, which, his unfortunately his time is ticking. I mean, it's starting to hit a lot of people now that it's almost that. Like I said, after WrestlePalooza, just about three, he'll have just about like three scheduled appearances left, which is crazy. I don't know how you fit. I don't know how you fit storylines into three scheduled things, but yeah, whoever they choose to be his last opponent, I'd honestly like to see him end on a win, because I feel like we've seen a lot of Cena recently in past years. He's put a lot of talent over. He puts Solo, obviously being one of the men. He put Austin Theory over. He spent kind of his last couple years putting talent over. I feel like his send off match should maybe be a win. I feel like he's done enough for this company to finally, not have to put somebody over. I feel like they're gonna have him put somebody over anyways, but I mean, me personally, I'd like to see him end with a win, whoever they choose to be his last opponent. But obviously, our time with Cena is, ticking. It'll almost be like 3 months. We're coming up to 3 months left to Cena, which is crazy to say. Um,
Yeah.
but, kind of moving along to a topic that a lot of we saw it obviously last Friday was finally the return of AJ Lee, which I think a lot of people saw coming. I honestly didn't think it would be this quick. Once we saw um, Becky Lynch take out Punk at Clash, I really didn't think we would see AJ Lee this quick or as fast as we did, but I'm glad we did. Obviously, AJ Lee's back with the company. We know they're running CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch at WrestlePalooza in a couple weeks. With that match specifically, there's no way they have AJ Lee and Punk lose.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't see where they would do that. But kind of going, past WrestlePalooza, I don't like to, look past PLEs until they happen. But kind of looking past, are we going to see? Are we going to see maybe an AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch Intercontinental title match? And the same thing, I guess you can say, with the world title. Do
Yeah.
you think we'll see a Seth Rollins versus Punk world title fight?
Oh yeah, I do. I think we get Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee at Crown Jewel Perth, which is happening in October. I think we definitely do get that. Um, for like even going further after that, I think the Becky Lynch AJ feud is going to spill all the way over until Survivor Series War Games, which is going to be both of their teams against each other. And I think it's going to end after that, and I think Team AJ is going to get the win. Um, Between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I personally think that's going to be a WrestleMania 42 feud. I think I think they're gonna have CM Punk and Rollins happen at Mania like they've always planned. Obviously that was taken away from us because of the injury Punk sustained at first. I think that was the original plan, but now that Punk and Rollins, which is seamlessly an endless feud, even Punk said it. He said this is like a never-ending feud. They're always going to have problems with each other. you know, they could put this feud on. Well, no, they can't now. They can't put it on the. I was going to say put it on the back burner, but now their wives are in it. AJ and Becky Lynch are in the feud. So, like, I think this is going to go all the way up until like it's going to go into the Rumble. They're going to meet. Like, well, no, I think Rollins will be the champion, but I think like Punk has a chance of winning the Rumble and going to challenge Rollins, or Punk will win the Chamber and challenge Rollins and be able to get that Mania match where he'll finally, get his moment of glory and be the world champion for an extended period of time. Um, and I think even like kind of going off track, I think when Rollins isn't the champion anymore, that's when we're going to finally see the breaking up of that Vision group. I think the power of Braun Breaker is going to go up. I think he's going to get tired of Rollins and all that. So, um, yeah, I think Punk wins the title at Mania. You could even have Becky Lynch win a title, not Becky Lynch, AJ Lee win a title at Mania. So they could both win the titles together, which would be really awesome. And then they could celebrate. I really do think this feud is going to extend all the way out until Mania season.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I feel like that might lead to some problems too, because I feel like, this feud this CM Punk and Seth Rollins thing's been kind of going on for a while now. People are kind of starting to tune out, or I guess make it known that they're kind of sick of seeing Seth Rollins and Punk feud, because, it's been going on for so long. Obviously, the Punk injury kind of ruined a lot of things. I think that's where a year ago we should have seen, this feud maybe, start ending. The smartest thing AJ Lee returning kind of saves this feud from, becoming boring.
Yeah,
But there's also that side of me that's saying that, it's the longer you keep dragging it, like, you can do the WrestlePalooza match. You can obviously AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. That's its own feud. But when it comes to CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I don't know how far you're going to be able to drag it without, making the story, keep feeling repetitive.
Yeah.
We've pretty much been seeing them feud since the January, the opening Raw Netflix thing. Well, we've been seeing them longer, but for this year specifically, they started feuding, or they continued their feud at the opening Raw on Netflix. We saw how that went down. They did the triple threat match. Now we're kind of back to not square one, because you have the wives involved now, so that's its own separate thing. But my issue with dragging it out is it will start to become very repetitive, and I just don't know how far you can drag it out without making it the same kind of things we've been seeing already.
hmm
Um,
You know, I think it would be kind of hard though to make it repetitive, in my opinion, because like if you remember when Punk returned 2 years ago, it was Rollins crashing out, and he was about to run up the ramp and attack him on the night of his return. Like if you think about it, this feud has been ignited now for since he returned. It was inevitable that they were gonna eventually clash, and they've been clashing forever now. It seems like. So like I think this is going to be one of those never-ending feuds that, Rollins is always going to be that thorn inside of Punk, and Punk's always going to be that thorn inside of Rollins. I think they're always going to be at odds with each other. Um, but I do understand what you're saying here, like with the championship aspect side of it, like that could get pretty repetitive after a while. Maybe they do something totally different. Maybe like our prediction is wrong. Maybe they don't even do a War Games match. Maybe at War Games they just have Punk versus Rollins one-on-one in the main event. That could happen. Like we could be fantasy booking something completely different now, where like it's the Vision, where it's Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and they have a whole other team without Rollins in there. Like I guess that is a possibility. Or like Mania is in April, so what's it now? September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 7 months away until Mania. So like that is a little bit far for the feud to stretch out. But they were able to do it with Cody and Roman, and we still cared about it. Cody lost at Mania 39, and the feud went out a whole year later until Mania 40, where he got the challenge again. So like what I was saying is like they could put the feud on the back burner, like after the dust has settled from like War Games, and they could reignite it again at the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, where like Punk could win it and then he challenges Rollins, and that would just reignite their feud. That seemed to be never ending. So I think that could be really good.
Yeah, and obviously with Roman being out, until probably around Survivor Series time, they like to um, drag his returns out a little bit. Whether he comes back when they start making teams, when he comes back at Survivor Series, we know that Roman Reigns will be on that Survivor Series show. Um, I think also, we talk about Cena in his last couple, his last run. I think, we've talked about this, off camera a lot of the time. I think we're starting to see that we could be in the final, couple of years of Roman Reigns, if even you can say years. I would say Roman's probably only got about, a year or two left, and then he'll probably, retire, do other things. But, we talk about, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, that's its own, feud. But,
Mhm.
you know, me personally, I want to see this Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins match, one on one finally happen where there's, no interference. Like, we saw them fight years ago with obviously Roman winning because of the Usos and the disqualification that
Yeah.
went down. I want to see, I don't know when they're going to do it. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be at Mania, if it's going to be separate match, but I want to see this. They've been teasing it for a long time now. This kind of Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins feud. But
Mhm.
if you were to, plan it out, because Roman comes back in, probably 2 months from now.
Yeah.
When do you think we'll see this Seth Rollins versus Roman feud kind of start?
That's another thing. That's another feud that seems to be never ending. Ever since 2014 when Rollins broke up the Shield, it seems like their feud will never ever end. Um but that's a difficult one because we when we were talking about it in our last video, we said that we see Roman versus Seth at Mania, that happening at Mania. So my only idea of what they could do is the triple threat. Again, they run that triple threat back. Roman versus Punk versus Rollins. Which that could be pretty cool if they run that back, but this time a championship is involved and the whole playing field has switched up. But other than that, like I don't really see what they do. Um, the Roman versus Rollins does not need a belt at all. Well, neither does Punk versus Rollins, but it does make sense that they do. Um, So I could honestly see them running Punk versus Rollins at another event, like before Mania. Um, like what if they do Punk versus Rollins at the Rumble? Because you remember the Rumble is in Saudi Arabia. They're probably going to want to do something really really big that they haven't done at any other Rumbles. So having a championship match as the main event, other than the actual, other than the actual Rumble, that could be pretty good, where they could have Punk beat Rollins there and become the new world champion, and then that will go into Mania, and that could cause Roman and Rollins to start their own problem, and they could have their one-on-one match while Punk would move on to something different for Mania, being the world champion. So the winner of whoever wins the Rumble, or the Chamber, like whatever they pick, either the championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. Um, I would venture to guess that they're more likely to run Punk versus Rollins at Mania, though. That feels like a more of a Mania match, given the fact how it's just kind of been the feud of 2025. Um, Roman has been gone for a lot of it, and now he's not scheduled to come back until around War Games times. Um, I'm more I'm more so guessing that they might just run Braun Breaker versus Roman at Mania. Before that, I don't see a really clear open path to get Roman versus Rollins yet. But I think we will definitely get it. I just don't know how.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it slightly, so I'll kind of bring up this um, next little segment or question we have. Kind of actually, before we start, for everyone on TikTok, once again, we're over on YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Links in my TikTok bio to come watch us. We're live talking WWE for the time being, so make sure to check us out there. But as we get into this next topic, there's a lot of PLEs that we're seeing now being placed in Saudi. Like you said, we're seeing the Royal Rumble will be there, and just announced, today, I think, that WrestleMania 2027 will also be over in Saudi Arabia.
Hmm.
How do we kind of feel about these PLEs in Saudi? And I'll just talk, sure. I don't mind these shows because, they get the entertainment factor. But, when it comes to, specifically the females, I feel like they get kind of screwed over with these
Hmm.
PLEs going over there. We
Yeah.
see to change up, their whole attire. We see some of them complain about the attire because some of them aren't used to wearing, fully clothed things like they have to wear.
Hmm.
But to be honest, I'd like to see, PLEs, especially Mania, which when I heard it was in Saudi Arabia, I wasn't too, excited about it just because I feel like there's so many other places that have been mentioned that you
Hmm.
could put it, like maybe put it in the UK, put it in these, places that they go to. Screw, maybe even bring one to Ireland somehow. You know, bring it
Hmm.
to, I love the Saudi crowds, but I feel like if you keep continuing to bring it to Saudi, the energy is always going to be high. Don't get me wrong, but if you bring it to a place, to a new place where the PLEs haven't been to yet, like especially with the Mania Survivor Series, if you put the PLEs in like a huge location, like I just mentioned, you can bring it to the UK, you can bring it to France, one of those places.
Yeah.
Like the energy would be so much better instead of just bringing it to Saudi, repeatedly, which I feel like they've been starting to do. I mean, no, this is only like the second one. Well, technically they have their own, separate PLE. But how do you feel with these shows and PLEs being in Saudi Arabia instead of bringing it to other places that really deserve PLEs but don't get the opportunity to have them?
Yeah. Um, I don't think it's fair to have it in Saudi constantly. They even have their own. I'm happy, I'm really happy that they're changing up the crown jewel. I think this is the first crown jewel that's outside of Saudi because it's crown jewel Perth and it happening in Australia. But I I don't think it's fair for the way they treat the woman there at all. Um, I feel like it's more better to have a crowd that is going to cheer the woman, and have like because women's wrestling is incredible. It's some like most like majority of the time the women's matches are more entertaining than the men's matches, and that's just in my opinion that's just true. So, having a crowd that's not gonna give them their flowers and it's not gonna like show them respect of how good of a match you're putting on, like I don't understand why you're gonna have a WrestleMania there. We know it's probably gonna pay out a lot of money to the company, but like that just kind of shows that like this is kind of cruel to say, but it kind of shows that they're kind of caring more about the money than about their own performers, which I think is a little bit messed up in my opinion, because you know we just had the return of AJ Lee, we have Tiffany Stratton, we have Rhea Ripley, we have Jade Cargill, we have Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Oscar, just to name a few of the incredible talent that they have in the company. So, being able to show them off and have amazing matches and amazing feuds that aren't recognized, I feel like that just isn't fair to them at all.
Yeah, and obviously we mentioned TKO a lot because they're fully in control of ticket prices, event prices, everything like that. But you know, I want to talk about TKO being kind of greedy as of late. One example, obviously, we mentioned it earlier. They um, pulled Boston from being seen as last location because of a money reason. Obviously Washington is going to give them more money,
Yeah,
opposed to Boston, so that's why they pulled him. Which once again, I don't think that's fair to Cena. Obviously, he can't control where the pay-per-views or PLEs are going to be.
yeah,
But do you feel like TKO has been you kind of mentioned that they've been taking advantage of the fans, upping ticket prices, upping not even just ticket prices, merchandise prices, making new merchandise, so they can
hmm
make more money. Do you feel like TKO is starting to, maybe ruin? I don't know if you can call it ruining a fan's, in-person experience. The fans that might not be able to afford these outrageous prices that they are starting to charge, which are going up year by year as we see it.
yeah, yeah. I think it is gonna ruin the fan experience. A lot of the fans of wrestling, like there's a lot of diehard fans. I consider me and you diehard fans. We've been watching the product now for over 10 years of our lives, and we want to be able to go to these shows, but like we're college students. We don't have thousands of dollars just laying around to go to these shows and to enjoy it. So them like cranking up the prices is, in my opinion, kind of not fair because of the greed of the TKO. And I know they're a company and I know they need to get money, but I feel like TKO isn't even like they aren't even fans of wrestling and they don't understand how wrestling is. You can see Triple H understands wrestling. He's been in the company for like 30 something years. He well for like probably around 30, so like 1995. Like he's been there for like 30 years. He knows how the company operates inside and out, and he knows what the fans want. But like at this point, he's not allowed to, like he's the head of creative, but he's not like in full control of the company because of TKO. So I feel like we need that magic back that was wrestling. Like we saw that era when Triple H first started before TKO. That era in like 2023. like that era was incredible. I know you remember it. That era was just so good. The writing was so good. Triple H was doing it was incredible. And it seems like recently that's been stopping a lot. And I don't think that's because of him. I think it's because of TKO, truthfully.
Yeah, and I talked about the ticket prices, increasing obviously year by year, and my another issue with this, maybe not even being when it comes to actually affording the ticket prices. I feel like they're charging too much, and some of these, Raws, SmackDowns are just so underwhelming. Even PLEs,
Oh my
people
god,
pay,
yeah.
an insane amount of money, and some of these PLEs just aren't like. Once you get to the end of the show, you're like, why did I, pay this,
Yeah.
amount for this? Even kind of an example, maybe being even WrestleMania Night One, which wasn't a terrible show, but that or not Night One. The I think it was night two, the Cena versus
Oh my
Cody.
god,
That
bro.
was just I couldn't imagine paying outrageous prices just to see that terrible, main event, which obviously SummerSlam kind of fixed that. But for all the
Hmm.
people that paid specifically to go to Mania and to see, Cena versus Cody and just having the match, be like that, and even some of the matches on WrestleMania in general really weren't, that good.
Yeah.
I feel like they, shouldn't be making these insane prices if the actual product's going to be, kind of mediocre, mid. I feel like if you're paying high prices, you should get high quality matches, storytelling, which, a lot of fans who pay these tickets, feel like these shows are underwhelming once they're there. Obviously, some of the shows are good, some of the shows are fantastic, but then you'll have even like a Saturday night's main event. Those tickets are high, and those shows really haven't been too good either. So, um, I'll just pull up this comment. ESPN, I won't buy. Too expensive. Weekend failure. I mean, I have the. I think I have the. I
Yeah.
think I have like the triple thing where I get like three. I think I get like ESPN, Hulu. I don't know what else I get, but I have
Yeah.
that little plan. And sticking with that, I kind of hate how they keep changing what we got to watch. Shows on. I mean,
Oh my god, dude.
if you're someone that has to actually, no, I'm not someone that actually has to, someone that has to pay for all these separate things. Like if you actually want to watch all these, you gotta pay for Peacock. You gotta pay for Netflix. Now you gotta pay for ESPN.
Yep.
And then even for the SmackDowns, I think you need
It's USA Network.
USA Network, yeah, which is obviously a price within itself.
And then it,
People have done the calculations. Yeah, you can.
if you want to watch NXT, you gotta have the CW. It's like
Yeah, so
every
just
wrestling
paying.
thing, dude. Every wrestling show is on a different platform.
Yeah, which is I feel like they're trying to go. Honestly, I feel like they're trying to copy. Obviously TK was also connected with the UFC with some things, but UFC obviously I think has it right. They're obviously switching their shows to one network, Paramount, and you'll be able to watch everything on there. I
Yep.
like how they're doing it instead of you have to watch eight different or you have to pay for like eight different things for WWE to actually watch some of the products. Um, which is another example of TKO's taking advantage of the fans, which we've honestly never have really seen this before, where you have to pay for like eight different things if you want to watch, a PLE.
Yeah.
But now with this new ESPN deal that they got going, people will, have to watch it on ESPN. Obviously, people will start, illegally streaming it like they always do. Um,
Mhm.
that's just another example of TKO, being greedy, trying to get money that's not actually physically paying in person to go more at home. But
Yeah.
um, kind of moving the line a little bit. We got WrestlePalooza. One of the bigger matches on that card, obviously, is Stephanie Valkyria versus Io Sky, with Naomi being out with their kid that she's having with Jimmy Uso. Best of luck to her. we'll
Hmm.
see her back at some point, probably next year. Honestly, probably around this time next year, she'll probably be out for a little bit. But as of right now, the women's title is could be in the hands of Stephanie, could be in the hands of Io Sky past the 2 week mark.
Yep.
If I were to make predictions on this little live stream, think I would have to go with I'd like to see Stephanie Valkyrie. I mean, she's a new name. She's obviously been putting in the work. She put in the work on NXT to get to this main roster. Um,
Hmm.
I'd like to see her win the title. I think she'd do a fantastic job. I think there's a lot of potential with her winning the title. You could run her versus Rhea, you know, her versus even Jade. There's just so many matches you could have with Stephanie Valkyrie winning the belt. You can say the same for Io Sky, but we've kind of already seen these feuds like Io Sky and Rhea.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Stephanie Valkyrie in the ring with some of these bigger talent, so I'm hoping she takes the win.
Hmm.
But who do you think is going to win between these two women?
Personally, I pray that it's Stephanie Valkyrie. We've already seen Io Sky. She's already like way back. She beat Bailey. She's won the women's world championship and the world heavyweight championship. Like she's won both main titles already. So I think it's only fair to give the title to Stephanie. We've seen what she can do down in NXT with the title. Like we know how amazing she is in the ring. We've already seen it on the main roster too. So giving her a title run is only fair here, in my opinion. And like you said, the matches that we can have with her are incredible. We can run Stephanie versus like Rhea. We can run her versus Asuka. We can run her versus like Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill. If Tiffany Stratton loses her belt, we could have her versus Tiffy. We could have like a double champion match. We could have her versus Julia again. All these amazing names, all these amazing matches that we could have. So hopefully we do get that. And kind of going on like with her winning that championship, I think like that is the closest thing you can get to Naomi with the belt. Naomi was on a generational run. She was having the best run of her career, in my opinion, and the best character worker. So, she did say whenever I come back, I'm coming back for this championship. So, this could lead to maybe like if Stephanie's still the championship, we could get a Stephanie versus Naomi feud when she gets back. So, there's a lot of really good things coming and that I really, really am looking forward to.
Yeah, and kind of to wrap this little live stream up with this last topic that I found earlier, which I don't know if this is confirmed, but usually when I see stuff on Twitter, I'll bring it in here. But on Twitter, they said that we obviously know that Dragunov's cleared; he's coming back soon.
Hmm.
Rusev was one of the people that they mentioned that they were gonna put them two in a feud. So I'm assuming
Hmm.
Dragunov's coming back as a face, which I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Potentially, usually when stuff gets leaked about these feuds, they end up
Yeah.
happening. Which I
Oh,
guess they said AJ Styles was supposed to fight Dragunov too, but
mhm.
how do you feel about this feud specifically between Rusev and Dragunov possibly happening?
I think that would be incredible. Dragunov is one of my favorite wrestlers. Um, watching him at NXT was incredible. His matches, like, he is one of those dudes who I think, like, he does not know how to put on a bad match. Every single one of his matches are incredible, in my opinion. So, seeing him kind of get this push would be good. Like, as we know, he never really got his boots off the ground because of the injury he sustained when he tore his ACL. Um, so his push never really began. But like putting him in this field, like you can see Triple H and like creative that they know how good Dragunov is. Like they've been planning on this, so I think he is incredible. I think this feud would be great. And as we know, like he goes like his best feuds are with those heavy hitters. Like he's had his best matches with the names of like Gunther and like Trick Williams and like all these like really physical matches that he had down in NXT. So like if he like can bring this up to the main roster, I think he can be incredibly successful, like future world champion level of a competitor. So like hopefully they play it out well and just give us the same character that we had down in NXT, and it's just gonna be magic in the ring.
Yeah, and obviously I'm, looking forward to God WrestlePalooza soon. Then we'll
Hmm.
start getting into some of the bigger PLEs, such as I don't know what's along the road, but Survivor Series, obviously within the next couple months.
Yep.
Last couple months of Cena, unfortunately, as his retirement gets closer, we'll keep pumping out content related to Cena.
Yep.
Um, but for everyone watching, once again, if you could if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, we're about 2 away from 100. We've been grinding.
Yes,
Be
sir.
sure to follow us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of it. Instagram's where we're most active, though. We're always posting stuff on there. You'll see reels, stories, pretty much all the time. We also have a news channel that's also linked. It's Over the Top Talk News. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Yep.
But it's linked to our main page on Instagram. We're almost at 2,000 followers on there. We got a lot of content probably coming up this Saturday specifically. There's a lot going on. Um, I will be down at Cage Titans, to watch their little event. I got a couple fighters down there. Then
Hmm.
we got Diego, and then Diego versus Diego Lopez versus Silva. That's UFC, and then obviously the boxing event is also on Saturday.
Oh
Canelo
yeah.
versus Crawford. So we're looking forward to Saturday. A lot going on, a lot of content opportunities. So you guys will see all of that to our Instagram. Like I said, that's where most of our stuff goes. We like to post real stories, like I said, but we hope everyone enjoyed this. We're going to start doing this a lot more where we come on there just to talk WWE topics. And if you guys enjoyed this, obviously subscribe, like, and me and Anthony will catch you guys in the next live stream we do, our video, I guess I should say.
Yep.
So
Yep.
thank you everyone for watching.
See you soon.